Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. We're talking about, today in this video, we're talking about the Customs Act here in Thailand. We're going to sort of get into some specifics on the old Customs Act, but it should be noted that a new Customs Act has been promulgated in Thailand, and it's actually an improvement. In certain ways, it's tightened up certain aspects of dealing with customs in Thailand, but there are other things that I would argue were indeed needed in order to get rid of some rather antiquated notions in the old Act. Most notably, some of the new things that have occurred, to me, one of the most interesting aspects of the old Act, there was sort of a reward system put in place for so-called whistleblowers under the old Act, which allowed those who basically informed customs officials about possibly suspicious shipments. If individuals inform, and presumably some of these individuals could be working for customs themselves, if it was discovered, or if a whistleblower basically noted that there was something strange going on with respect to a possible shipment, then the whistleblower could receive a remuneration, a reward associated with the shipment. And certain fines would be implemented against those who were trying to ship the cargo into the United States, or into Thailand. And of those fines, some of the fine could be apportioned off to the whistleblower in question. Now, in most circumstances, rewarding whistleblowers is oftentimes a good thing. Under the old Act, I think it's pretty safe to say that under certain circumstances, this could be counterproductive or even prone to abuse under certain circumstances. Now, I'm not saying that this happened every time. I've dealt with customs cases. I've dealt with clients who are in import-export. This isn't an overly frequent occurrence, but under certain circumstances, there could be situations where an individual's shipment could be called into question and could result in fines and penalties, and these fines and penalties could find their way to the whistleblowers in question. The new Act caps out the rewards at a total of 5 million baht, which is not an insignificant amount of money, but it also decreases certain percentages associated with the rewards, percentages of fines, etc. So, in a way, this new Act is de-incentivizing those who might have been overly prone to basically whistleblowing on various, shipments coming into Thailand. It doesn't get rid of them entirely, and I would argue it shouldn't. I think officers and individuals should be incentivized to report possibly illegal conduct. But that being said, I think under the old Act, and I think what's trying to be remedied under the new one, is they don't want to see folks basically willy-nilly making claims in order to basically get remuneration. There was an incentive to whistleblow, and that would slow things down. It would make things inefficient with respect to import-export, and it would make people not particularly want to do business in Thailand. Now, that being said, there's abuse the other way, and that is dealt with in other aspects of the new law. But this one was important because I think it should be noted that the Thai government is trying to implement policies which are more business-friendly than perhaps some of the policies which were implemented in the past. Interestingly enough, they're getting rid of strict liability presumptions with respect to certain customs duty or presumed customs evasion. They're also getting rid of presumed liability for various officers of companies here in Thailand. So officers and companies that were importing and exporting in the past were presumed, by dint of simply being an officer of the company, were presumed to be involved with possible or alleged customs evasion. That presumption is now removed, although I would say as a practical matter, officers of companies that are doing import-export need to be very assiduous in maintaining their oversight of what's being imported and exported to Thailand. They've also changed the calculation of fines for if one is found to have evaded payment of customs duties. I'm not going to go into the exact math with respect to this. They also are now, under the new act, courts can now use some judicial discretion with respect to customs matters, where specifically fines associated therewith, and in the past that was not a possibility. There's also been a better time frame created whereby the auditing of customs has to take place. In the past, it was almost sort of an open-ended adjudication if a shipment in question was basically called into question for possible customs evasion. In the past, it was sort of an almost open-ended process, and it could be very frustrating and in some cases rather expensive. They have put in some more clear time frames as to when these matters need to cease or need to desist, clear timelines, also clear timelines with respect to appeal, and again, all of this stuff just in its entirety, I would say, is overall a good thing for those wishing to do business here in the Kingdom of Thailand. Customs is an important aspect of import-export. In many ways, it's an important aspect of doing business, not only in Thailand, but throughout the region. But I think that the government has been very prescient and has used a lot of best practices when trying to decide how these laws impact the economy and the businesses here in the kingdom. And I think that they've at least tried to craft a bill that at least in some measure improves the situation for business, while at the same time improving their tactics with respect to customs enforcement.